A local parlance says every day might be for the thief, but one day is for the owner. This could readily be applicable to the recent onslaught of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, against drug traffickers who seem bent on making quick money through illicit means. From available records, no week passes without the raid or arrests of offenders who are scattered across the country with operations far and beyond. The recent raid by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency suggests the agency is not resting on its horse as it has set out to rid the country of the menace of drug abuse and trafficking. In fact, available data suggests that 30 to 35 million people spend about $15,000 to $30,000 annually on psychotropic drugs and beverages, a phenomenon health watchers believe is a public health concern in Nigeria. The issue of drug abuse consistently headlines discuss due to its prevalence with a number of cases, especially among adolescents and teenagers. The past few weeks has been a busy one for the NDLEA, who are relentless in sustaining the fight against drug abuse and trafficking. Although analysts and observers say it appears the renewed efforts and collaboration with relevant agencies in other countries in fighting drug abuse and trafficking could be the magic wand. They are, however, quick to draw attention to the level of crime, violence, and insecurity this causes. But tough as their operations have been in stemming the tide, more culprits are still falling into their hands with little or no regard for the long arm of the law. Why is this so? And what has been the strategy of the authorities in sustaining the fight against drugs and trafficking? Also, what level of cooperation does Nigeria need to strengthen action in achieving a drug-free society? This is Nigeria Today. I am your carrier, Clinton. Welcome to the program. Joining me to discuss sustaining the fight against drug abuse and trafficking is Femi Babafemi, Director of Media and Advocacy, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good to have you here.
My pleasure.
Also joining us is Chuks Akamadu, a legal practitioner and President, Center for Ethical Rebirth among Nigerian Youth, Serani. Glad to have you join us once again.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I'll start with you, Femi. You know, we've had many arrests and seizures in the past months. What has been the trigger for the success stories?
Well, I think there was a paradigm shift in the operational efficiency of the agency with the coming of Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa as the Chairman Chief Executive in January 2021. And it was not just all about his person, it's about some of the strategies he came with. First, by motivating the officers and men he would be working with, doing a lot of things like giving them promotion, regularizing their ranks. That is also a very great one. Quite a number of people had been stagnated for years on the same rank, and he was able, and quite a number of the allowances, especially for those for families of officers who died in active service, who were owed some benefits or allowances. You know, those things were things that could demoralize anybody, because when you see what happened to your departed colleague, you wouldn't want to take a risk. And so a lot of those things were done, and so there seemed to be like, new people were brought into the agency to start doing the work when results started coming in. And again, there is one thing about the operational maximum of the agency, I mean, which he brought in January 2021, which is offensive action. You go all out after the cartels, the barons. You know, the agency shifted focus to really putting the heat on those that had over the years appeared untouchable or invisible. That is the barons. You understand? And so the moment we started going after them, taking them out of circulation, you know, you have quite a lot of syndicates, cartels crumbling. And that was exactly what I just watched on your on the station, what you just read in the news now about you have 3 major syndicates in Lagos operating, transnational ones for that matter, and within a spate of days, they were all taken down by a special unit of the agency. So these were things, the results that were coming out of this kind of pragmatic leadership, and a kind of leadership that is directly involved, not just providing leadership from the comfort of your home, but then directly involved in day-to-day activities of the agency.
Thank you very much, Chooks. I know we've had quite a lot of achievements by the NDLEA. However, one would ask, what are the root causes of the drug abuse in Nigeria, as well as the trafficking?
Well, before I go into that, I would want to make an observation. In your introductory remark, you did say that a report of what NDLEA does is like a weekly thing, that every week. Well, I think differently. I think differently because from my records, in the recent times, especially since the assumption of office of the current chairman, chief executive of NDLEA, we've been having raids, arrests, prosecutions, and convictions on daily basis. It's no longer on weekly basis, which is quite alarming. It's not something that, yes, it's something that one would say requires us to give NDLEA a pat on the back, but looking at it from the other angle, you'll find that it's quite alarming that we are in a society that is under siege by the twin evil of drug abuse and illicit trafficking. Coming straight to your question, you see, I'm glad that we're where we are at the moment, because before the coming of the current leadership of the NDLEA, it looked as though things were okay. But suddenly, with the coming of Brigadier General Abuja Marwa, we've suddenly realized that, come on, we have a worsening emergency on our hands. This thing has eaten deep into the very fabric of our national life, and it has become a potent threat that is capable of consuming all of us. So at least there is that consciousness that, that if we don't kill this thing will kill us. And quite a number of factors can be attributed to the root cause of drug abuse. Number one, let us not isolate Nigeria and make it look as though it's the worst of all.
I know it's a
global phenomenon. God bless
you.
So we must have that clearly stated, that it's not restricted to Nigeria. Globally, there's a downturn in humanities, morals, values, and all of that. Ours is actually a decadent society. But again, how each distinctive society decides to handle that decline in morals and values and all of that is what separates one society from another. And that's why we are glad that at the moment, the NDLEA is now alive to its responsibilities, realizing that all of those excuses that are given as reasons why people engage in drug abuse should not be a commodity. Young people say they are bored, and for that reason, they take to drug abuse. Young people say they are depressed. For that reason, they take to drug abuse. We have housewives who say that they are lonely. For that reason, they take to drug abuse. All of those are excuses and all of that. We appreciate that. And of course, there are people who actually look at the economic climate of the country and they say, oh, this economy is really dealing with us very harshly. These are reasons, quote and unquote, but I call them excuses. But the truth of the matter is that what you're resorting to hurts you. It hurts your family. It hurts your society. It hurts everywhere. It hurts everyone. So why do you go for that which is even more hurtful than your so-called loneliness, your so-called boredom, and your so-called economic hardship? So it's just like what inflicting greater damage on oneself by saying, oh, this is why we do this is why we do. But we understand all of that, and of course we insist that our government, when we say government, of course we mean both those in the helm of affairs and then the people, because the government cannot clap with one hand. Okay. We need a collaboration between the government and the people to see how we can overcome all of these socioeconomic and political
definitely
challenges.
We'll get to that point. Now, Femi, your last arrest and seizure seems unexpected when with the arrest of an alleged baroness and 4 kingpin. Can you tell us a little bit about that arrest, how it was effected?
Okay, now, like I said, the NDLA has, just like Shuk said, has really been well retooled and remolded in a way that to make it efficient, proactive, and pragmatic. And that's one of the results of that is what we witnessed in Lagos in the last week. And that's not just, that is just one of such. Like Shuk said, unfortunately, I didn't get your early remarks to actually know, to actually provide, to shed light on the fact that indeed we have hundreds and thousands of operations going on every day, but we just wait probably towards the end of the week or as the need arises to pick just a few and send out and share with the public just to educate and inform the public.
We work according to information.
Okay, yeah.
The information available to us.
Yeah, I appreciate that, I understand that. Now, coming to the operations in Lagos last week, basically we have a special unit. We don't normally disclose the identity or the full names of that unit, but then their responsibility is to handle these special cases, those involving the big cartels, the barons, and so they've been working on these people, and they were able to track the particular woman to her base in Festac area of Lagos, monitored her until she was able to leave her house, go to a warehouse, restock, and she was preparing to send those things to the southeast, the tramadol, and they followed her and eventually got her when they had those things in her vehicle. That's the white unmarked white.
Is that the woman?
Yeah, that's a Bailey Faith.
Okay.
So they were able to track and now took her to the warehouse where she actually went earlier to load those things, and then eventually were able to recover over 2,750,000 pills of tramadol. Tramadol of 225 and 250 milligrams, not 50, not the medically permitted ones, illicit ones. 225 milligrams. Tramadol is not what you can even take 50 milligrams. I've spoken to one of your colleagues there before who said there was a time her doctor prescribed, gave her 50 mg, and for days she couldn't get herself, she couldn't feel her body. That's the impact of it. Now imagine 225 and 250. So we're able to get that. Then we had to also, the team also had to go for the other 2 transnational. Actually, that one cuts across borders. And also again, something, in fact, the first one that was arrested in Lekki, they were actually about distributing cocaine and Canadian loud, when our men also, we have a way of tracking them anyway, so we're able to get them, and just at the niche of time.
Okay, thank you so much for that information. But we're going to pause here now for a break and listen to a cross-section of Nigerians on the issue of drug illicit trafficking, as put together by correspondent Patricia Esami Luba. Don't go away.
Of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow, under digital economy, for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different?
We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that are questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Okay, we do apologize for not bringing you that box pop. I think we'll bring it much later. But this is still Nigeria Today, and we're looking at the issue of curtailing drug trafficking and abuse in Nigeria. Chooks, you heard all he said there, and we'll just go straight to what are the possible solutions, to these menace we have in our hands. As much as it would rather be surprising that youths are involved in the acts of illicit trafficking, but more alarming, recent data, we see elders, so to speak, from 55 to 60. Why the increase? Why this increase in involvement?
Well, there is pressure. I think there is pressure everywhere. There's pressure everywhere. But that it's pressure everywhere isn't enough excuse for people to elect to destroy themselves. That's what I would say. Well, I think on the one hand, I think that the government should be alive to its responsibilities. When I say the government, of course, I mean the federal, the state, and the local governments. The people are crying at the moment. We are not in the best of times. Economically, so many people are struggling to survive, breathe actually, and all of that. So the authorities would have to do something about the current economic conditions.
Okay, let me ask you this. What should the government or the authority do differently?
Okay, in the area of employment, especially as pertains to the youth population of this country, I mean, the federal government should declare a state of emergency in the area of unemployment in this country. We have growing unemployment rate in this country. And what that means is that young people are left with little or no option but to begin to flirt with vices, all of that. There is no reasonable young person that comes from a stable home that would want to be in the dungeon and start exchanging syringe with their peers and all of that. Some of these young people that you hear that have been hooked on these hard drugs, some of them are well educated. Some of them have their postgraduate, some of them are master's degree holders, some of them are actually PhD holders. But because there is no employment, when they feel depressed, given their age and all of that, they are unable to manage that particular phase of their lives. Well, we still have some who do manage that particular phase of their life, but I think that the government, the community, the society at large owe it a duty to support these young people so that they can navigate through that particular sensitive period of your phase of their lives. So government should be proactive in the areas. Government should think outside of the box to say how technical education can be strengthened in our country as opposed to what we have at the moment, so that as universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education are churning out graduates, they are able to start something on their own without relying on white-collar jobs and all of that. That will help a whole lot in at least containing and curtailing youth involvement in drug abuse.
Okay.
Apart from that too, I also think that the community should, on their own, take it as a responsibility to educate their own, with a view to complementing the commendable effort of NDLA in that regard. Because what the young people or the women or the older people do as regards indulging in drug abuse and illicit trafficking worsens their situation. It does not in any way help at all.
Thank you so much. Femi, I know as much as I know NDLA has been doing a lot, in terms of, curbing the menace in our country. However, we still have increase in these drug abuse and illicit trafficking of drugs. Now, I know you've had some collaborations with, the U.S. and of course you signed a memorandum with the customs and all of that. Are there more collaborations that you think you need to, do more in trying to curb the menace?
Well, thank you. You already know we do not just collaborate with local stakeholders, that's whether at the national or sub-national levels, but then internationally we have to strengthen our partnerships with our counterparts out there, whether in the UK, in the US, in India, in South Africa, everywhere all over the world, because it is a global scourge. So not one nation can do it all alone. You need to work hand in hand with others. Now, having said that, I would say that if there is any partnership or collaboration we need more than any other, apart from our other law enforcement agencies or MDAs, that is ministry departments and agencies of government that we work with, whether you talk of NAFDAC, Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Education, Women Affairs, and all of these government institutions, we need the people. And that was the whole essence of the agency initiating or setting up or launching War Against Drug Abuse, WADA Advocacy Initiative on June 26, 2021, which was primarily set up to mobilize everybody, every citizens to buy in and take ownership of the war against. I'm happy that my colleague we have in the studio, Shuks, has been a part of that process. He has a Sirani, a platform which he also uses to educate and mobilize the young people to discourage them from going into substance abuse. So we need the partnership with the people, and that's why, because this whole thing has to be about, it has to be a collective effort. It's not just about one government agency, or it's not about President Tinubu, it's not about NDLA or General Mara, it's about all of us.
Okay, quickly before you go, tell us what should be the role of the community leaders, the people.
Awesome. At the community level. Now, that's why our commands all across the country have been going to those communities to meet with these community leaders, to engage with them, to educate them, and also get them to pass down the information, the same knowledge, the same facts, share with them to to other people in those communities. The whole essence of that is, one, because when you look at those abusing illicit substances, they live in the same community. When you look at those trafficking, they live in communities. So indeed, communities have roles, especially the community leaders.
And the people know them.
Of course, people they know them. That's why we say, look, I used to, at the NDLA, we cite this instance that some months ago where there was an outbreak of methamphetamine in the southeast. You see the way the people, the community leaders, rose up and resisted No, they told this, they worked hand in hand with NDLA at that point and told these people, look, you cannot do this in these communities. That is actually the people taking the battle in their hands and resisting these people.
Thank you very much, Femi, there. That's where we'll draw the curtain for today. But before we do that, we must appreciate our guests. Thanks for their insight. Femi Babafemi, Director of Media and Advocacy, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate having me.
And also Chuks Akamadu, a legal practitioner, and also the President, Center for Ethical Rebirth among Nigerian Youth, Serani. Thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts with us.
It's my pleasure.
And also to our viewer, thank you so much for always being a part of it. Don't forget, the program Nigeria Today airs weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24. Once again, thank you for being there. I am your carrier, Clinton. Bye.